What do potatoes, freedom, the beach, and a firefighter have in common? We're about to find out.
Get ready for the real estate show that takes you across the barriers and into the danger zone. That Bitchin' Real Estate Podcast with your host, Tenacious T.
Thank you for coming back on the show. This is Kimberly Toko Tenacious T with a very special guest of the new collective,
Brad Pickett.
Brad Pickett. You've had quite the little history in your life after doing my stalking and research. I find it fascinating that you're a potato farmer.
Yeah, I did. I grew up on a potato farm in a little town in southern Idaho.
You have that look, too. I must say, when I first met you, I'm like, there's a corn-fed boy right there.
I don't know what that look is, but I'll take it.
That is a big, stocky, like, friendly, handsome dude.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Thank you.
So you went from potatoes to wanting some freedom and into the mortgage world.
Yeah, I went to college at University of Idaho. Then I moved straight from there to San Diego. And I worked as a loan officer for a little while. Then I worked for a title company, Stewart Title, for a while as a title rep. And then I got my broker's license in California and became a mortgage broker.
And somewhere along the lines, you decided to throw in Firefighter in there?
Yeah, that was not so much by choice. That was when 2008 hits you in the face and you land at the bottom. And one of the best and worst times of my life, but very humbling and became a firefighter, which was
which city?
In Burley, Idaho.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So was it a full-time position? What were they? Was it 48 on, 24 off?
Yeah, it was a full-time position, 2 on, 3 off.
2 on, 3 off. And during that time, you decided just to, buy 14 houses and what was it, 1 year?
So that was a great time in my life. I mean, I learned a lot. But as I was at the fire department, as much as I loved all those guys, I wanted to do something else. I wanted to I wasn't going to be able to live on that kind of money for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I wanted to learn. And so when those guys would be talking by the table, I'd go into the other room and be on YouTube and studying and working. And I bought 14 houses in 6 months with no banks, no credit, and none of my own money. And then that year I went on to buy 21.
It just kind of makes my jaw drop because that is not an easy thing to do, especially having a full-time job as a firefighter. I'm married to one. I know what that entails. You most likely didn't sleep.
It wasn't really that hard.
Oh God, here he goes.
It's really funny. I actually sent 50 emails a day to Craigslist, and that's how I did my marketing. And then I used, creative financing stuff that I learned from a mentor, and I was able to increase my net worth by $900,000 in 1 year. What's
even more fascinating to me, though, is you're in a full-time position, you're buying homes, and for some reason it wasn't enough for you. You still feel right now a drive for something more.
The biggest issue I had was not being around. It's like Dom said earlier, it's the people you surround yourself with. I needed to be around people that were going to make me rise.
Yeah.
And in a smaller town, you've got the best people in the world that would give you the shirt off their back, but they're very comfortable with where they're at in their life. And I just wanted more. So I needed to be, I need to get out of that environment. So I did.
And where did you go from there?
I moved to Scottsdale, and I made more money in my first month in Scottsdale than I did in a whole year as a firefighter.
That in itself is fascinating, but I'd like to know, did you just throw a dart and say, Scottsdale, that's it? Or what brought you to Scottsdale?
No, I actually had a couple of houses here already.
Gotcha.
And I'd been down here. I actually came down here 10 years ago to get a yoga certification. I'm a yoga teacher as well.
So potatoes, mortgages, title, firefighter, and yoga.
Yeah. It's
interesting.
Kind of odd.
I want to touch real quick with Dom about the people you surround yourself with. So you decided to go to Scottsdale, and we'll get in deeper into that story. Dom, what age were you when you figured out that you needed to surround yourself with like-minded or better-minded people?
I don't think there was a specific age. It's my grandmother's Chinese. Mm-hmm. My family's very diverse. So it was something that I was kind of birthed into.
Yeah.
But I was a class clown. And when you can pull from different people's stories, it makes everybody like you.
Yeah.
Right. And as I got older, I realized it's nothing more than your Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Right. Even from Intel perspective, you have to know a little bit about a lot of things to be able to connect with everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So to me, if I couldn't do that, it means it was going to hurt my pocket.
Yeah. I'm going to introduce a young man at the end there, Devon Speaks, the creator of the urban clothing line, Legal Hustle. Go ahead and introduce that clothing line and tell us who you are, and you want to hear a diverse background. This young man has it.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Devon Speaks. I am the creator, CEO of Legal Hustle. Stands for Live Everyday Achieving Greatness, Utilizing Love. I can't take all the credit for getting it. It's not where I want it to be, but my wife had a big hand in this actually becoming what you're wearing today. And yeah, we'll do videos about her and whenever she's ready to go. But yeah, it was just something that I thought it was an idea I had, and but the idea behind that idea was the fact that I'm a foster kid. I come from a very diverse family as well. I would say the biggest, I don't know, what's the word, issue in America style, half my family's black, half my family's white. So, I think for me, I see things a lot differently than most people, because just like you, I wasn't privy to just one side of how people are. We were just all broke. So it just, things just played out the way they did. But something you said when I was listening to you earlier, when you said you had to get yourself out from around the same minded people, specifically for me, that happened when I was 28. When I was 28 years old and I got arrested for the last time. And I realized that I was the leader, but I was the leader of people who wasn't giving me the same thing I was giving them.
And this is a young man that I am proud to say is one of my tenacious angels.
Yes, TA.
Grooming young people that have been through hardships with fire and basing their businesses on giving back. And
Yes.
awesome.
Devon Speaks is going to be speaking, man. Brad, you have achieved enormous success, but you're at this kind of stage in your life where you've been transitioning. You're seeing, like we discussed earlier, an awakening happening out there, a need for more leaders. Where has that brought you today?
So it's kind of basically in 2018, I set a goal to hit 7 figures, and that's when I was money driven. And I hit that goal, and I believe it's Tony Robbins that says there's nothing worse than hitting a goal and then realizing you're not where you want to be.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
Yes.
you just kind of wake up and you're like, okay, that didn't make me happy.
Right.
And I'm looking around. I mean, the people I was surrounded by, one of them was stealing from me. I just wasn't happy. And it was like I was herding cats and pushing. And it goes into, there's a great book called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. And I believe that 90% of the world is operating from force.
Yeah.
And it's doable, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
So for me, I was like, this isn't sustainable. It doesn't make me happy. And so what I needed to do was step back and find out where my power is and step into my center and understand where I have sustainable power, and being centered and using power versus force. And for me, that was to help other people and to teach emotional and financial freedom.
Yeah. And emotional freedom is a big one right now. Dom, you were just saying that with men, it's a very difficult thing to do. Are you finding the same thing?
Yeah, so there's a macho mask, if you will, that we've been taught. I don't know if we want to get into divine feminine and divine masculine.
No, we don't have to go all the way into that.
then there's just a lot of, the male character right now believes that it's weak to show vulnerability.
Yeah.
And nothing could be further from the truth.
Right.
Vulnerability is what allows you to grow. It allows you to be received. It allows you to be able to affect more people. And, it's like, I remember when I went to get my yoga certification, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to lose my man card? I was all freaked out about it. And then I started realizing.
You mean you weren't going just to see the pretty girls in the class?
Actually, I was. But I was like, finally I'm like, who cares, you know? And then once you get over that and you learn to be vulnerable and you learn to crack that shell open, that's when the healing starts to begin. That's when the negative emotions can flow out, and when you can start to replace fear with love, essentially.
Dom, that it sounds like something you would say.
Yeah, it's for me, it was being willing to put it all on the line and being okay with being loved. And I've done a lot of dark stuff behind the badge. And when I met my wife, this was day 2. Like, fellas, don't do this. Day 2, I just said, you know what, she's too good for me. But I said, look, I'm just gonna put it all out there. I'm gonna tell you everything I've done, and I figured it would be done. And when a lot of this stuff I've never verbalized, and I told her, and she had the nerve to, like, in her mind it was like some Hollywood movie. I said, no, like I'm like, this is me. She's, no way, I still love you though. And once she told me that, I'm like, wow, I can be loved. See a man who, because all it is hurt.
Yeah.
But because I've hurt so many people and I've hurt myself, I can recognize it and just talk. I mean, there's nothing like hugging a man in like the toilet paper aisle in Target. Like, that's happened to me twice, right? Having a man the size of this guy next to me, he's twice my size. But I've had more men cry on my shoulder because I'm speaking that language.
That's good.
And their wives love it.
And you're healing them.
Yeah.
I want to hear what Devon, who has never had a coach, he's pushed himself and been inspired by family members and other people. But tell us how a young man from foster care system that was involved in gangs, how do you find that vulnerability and make it work for you?
I'll correct you real quick. Never been in a gang.
Oh, sorry.
I do know a lot of gang members,
Yes.
but I never specifically been in a gang. I honestly thank the universe, the man upstairs, however you believe. I've just always been that person who, my brain has always told me either A, that's really, really stupid, or B, that's kind of stupid, or C, yeah, you could kind of get away with it, or D, yeah, you know, if you do this, you can get away with it. And that's how I've always like compartmentalized things.
Yeah.
One of the hugest things that for me was exactly what he said. I struggled for a very long time with self-worth. I think everyone has that issue, especially as a child, no matter if you come from money or no money, you're trying to figure out who you are.
Right.
But foster kids and kids who come from places, I always use this analogy, ghetto kids and farm kids, because a lot of us have the same upbringing where people in the town or where we're from tells us this is all you're going to be.
Yep.
You're not going to be anything else. The biggest guy in my town is a drug dealer. The biggest guy in his town is probably a farmer. And they're like, okay, you're going to be like that and you're going to be this. And for me, specifically, being a foster kid, you multiply that by like 100.
Yeah.
So I would always wonder why I wasn't worth my real mother doing what I see other kids' real parents do for them.
Right.
What was wrong with me? And I internalized that a lot into a lot of the things that I did. You know, my thing was I was big into, I was a ladies' man. You know what I mean? I would have multiple women here and there. And now that I'm married and, I knew that was an insecurity then, but I didn't know how to be loved. I didn't love myself and I didn't know how to accept love. So I pushed a lot of people away from me.
I think a lot of men do use sex and attention to replace love.
Yeah. And I thought that's what was going to make me happy or make women love me or like me, because I didn't understand why my own mother, and father didn't think it was cool enough or, I was worth enough them changing whatever their lives were. So, for me, my biggest thing that has carried me my whole life is the fact that I've always been a person who is done for others. Even when I was in the ghetto where I was living at, people always tell me, you're not like the rest of us.
Right.
They would always say that to me. You're not, and I used to hate that because I wanted to be like, why you keep telling me I'm different than you? I want to be like the dudes on the corner because that's how you get accepted. But then when I realized these same, like he said, same grown dudes are asking me for $1, crying to me, telling me their problems. I'm 16 years old and I'm giving him advice. And it didn't hit me then, but now I'm talking to you, it hit me now. Like I'm literally giving advice to 23-year-old gangsters, and I'm 16.
Natural born leader.
It's crazy, So
and it's odd because obviously a completely different story. But as a young woman, My mother told me that all I needed to be was a pretty housewife and just to find a rich man. And I didn't need to go to school. I didn't need to go to college. So I never did go do all of that. But you bet your ass I did not end up just a pretty housewife. It just wasn't in me. But it's strange how those things that are told to you as a child stick with you, because it took me years to realize that I'm much more than just a pretty face. Brad, I know that's kind of something that you talk about on social media is, don't rely on your beauty. You have a speech about beautiful people. I love to hear your thoughts on beauty and how the kids are using that instead of real sustenance.
Well, the example I put on social media is what Instagram, I believe, is doing to both males and females, but I think a little bit more to females. I mean, it's causing insecurities and making people feel like they're not worthy because they don't look a certain way, and none of those pictures are even real. And it's just like a slippery slope of BS. I mean, it's not even real. Those people aren't real. I mean, we see them in real life and they don't look anything like that.
So true, bro. Yeah. So true.
Well, yeah, that's why you post the filtered one and then the unfiltered one.
Yeah.
But
and I'm all for using filters and being beautiful, but if you're presenting something that you're not, it's going to cause a separation in your soul, and you're going to feel dis-ease in your body.
Yeah.
You're going to get sick.
yeah,
I mean,
that brings me to my famous questions I'd love to ask you. You got to hear a few of them.
oh boy.
But for you, instead of, so for Dom, we used coaching. For real estate agents, I use the MLS descriptive words. But for you, I would love for you to pick out your favorite word as it pertains to the way you're living your life now, your beliefs. What is your favorite word in what you express to people?
I'd have to say synchronicity.
Synchronicity.
At this point in my life, I don't believe anything happens by chance. I believe that if you're in alignment and you set intention, that things absolutely occur for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally, not to go into quantum physics, but our thoughts are literally creating mass and making things happen in front of us. And science is starting to catch up with that.
Yeah.
So there is science behind it. But synchronicity is just recognizing that the universe, or whatever you the creator, whatever you believe in, is helping you. And when you have intention and you don't turn around and doubt yourself, and take the power away from that intention, then those things can create for you. And it's synchronistic. I mean,
every single successful person, coach, author, movie star, every single person out there says the same exact thing.
Really?
Synchronicity. And number one, that's why I know you're just about to explode, my friend, because you're aligning yourself. But if you really research all of the successful people, even down to, writing books, they saw the book, they saw it happen, they saw themselves doing it, and they believed in it.
Right.
Along the same lines, what word do you hate?
Oh, geez. What word do I hate? I don't can't, never, always, any definitive words. I believe we live in a world of duality, and all truths are but half truths. I mean, there's always the opposite that's out there. So I just don't like limiting words. I believe words are extremely powerful, and it actually kind of is hard for people to hang around me, because if they use those words, I correct them. Like, don't say can't. Like, oh, I just can't speak in public. Okay, well, just say you need to work on speaking in public. It's okay if you aren't good at it right now, but don't ever say I can't, because that just puts that energy out there and it comes back to you. So
my partner and coach, Brian Colhane, is a big believer in those positive words, and don't say can't. That is one of the things that, from watching you on social media and watching your videos, you have a really solid set of words. So let it be written, so let it be done. And you fulfill what you say you're going to do. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think you should always, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so same thing. I asked this with Dom. You've got a lot of stuff to do today. Let's put you in that place where you're tired. You've been up all night. What do you do to turn yourself on, to get yourself going?
When I'm feeling out of alignment, for me, it's, sometimes I do get out of alignment. Sometimes I do have negative thoughts. And when I feel that, the biggest thing I can do is become centered. And it's like people would probably call it meditation, but for me, I just sit down and I take deep breaths, and I do this thing called the infinity breath that goes through my body, and it calms me down and it grounds me. And then I start to think a little bit clearer. And I have to do that quite a bit, honestly.
I love that. I end up doing some breath work almost every day, especially when I'm going to the gym. So again, you're going about your day and you're feeling aligned and everything's going great. What turns you off?
What turns me off? I can't be around negativity. I can't be around even music that is swearing and cussing, or anything that is hurtful or rude or mean. I immediately turn away from it because it changes my energy vibe immediately.
Yeah, that's interesting. Russell Shaw is a big modern classical fan, and he's introduced me to a lot of modern classical composers. And I have to say, you're absolutely right, especially when it comes to music and movies. There is something about them. If you continue to listen and watch them, it's almost like the people you surround yourself with. It does ooze into your life. What is that little thing that you do that just it helps you avoid that negativity? Especially, you're still building. You're brand new in your business, and where do you find yourself stepping away from? As far as, is it music? Is it how do you keep that negative energy out of your life?
Now, I just look at my son.
Yeah.
For me, negativity, I lived my whole life on that side. You know, where 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't sit in a room with him.
Yeah.
He's a cop.
Yeah.
I'm a street dude.
Yeah.
Ex-cop.
Ex-cop. But you see what I'm saying? We
Once
just...
a cop, always a cop.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny that he's older than me, but it's funny because a lot of things he's saying are things that I've thought of, right down to myself. Like, I had to work on me.
Yeah.
And I worked on me by music. Music is a huge thing in my culture, as everybody knows. Hip hop is a huge thing.
Right.
And I realized that when I was doing those things that I was doing, if I was trying to amp myself up, I'll listen to a certain guy and he's saying what he's saying, and I'm feeling that same feeling. I'm like, all right, I'm about to go do this right now. You know what I'm saying? Or vice versa. And I realized it wasn't until Nipsey Hussle, which is probably by far my favorite rapper, when he died. And I called my homeboy who's from California, from that same area, and I was like, listen, I'm not listening to any more rap no more. Like, I listen to rap, but it has to be a specific type of rap. I don't want to hear nothing about the drugs and the shooting and all that. You know what I mean? I've been down that road personally, but I realized then and there, and it was right around, my son was born on April 5th, you know, and Nipsey, everybody knows he died a couple of days before. And I looked at myself and I said, and I did this before that, I was just like, if I don't change the things that I'm viewing, reading, or listening to, then how am I ever going to grow, and how am I ever going to learn anything?
Yeah.
And for me specifically, it's funny that this is the type of show you're doing today, because you saw my video this morning that I posted, right?
I did.
And I completely changed all the people that I really cared about being in my life, because I realized that a lot of them, quite frankly, didn't do shit for me.
Yeah.
I was doing more for them than they could ever do for me. And I realized that once I take care of me, then, and I find my self-worth and I find my self-love, then naturally that's all I'm going to give out.
Yeah.
When we were on our negative sides, that's all we gave out was
Yep.
negativity. I saw negativity.
Yep.
Like I said, years back, me and him would walk by each other and he'd probably look at me like, I wonder what he doing. I'm looking at him like, I wonder why he looking at me like that. And then now it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Now
It's a
we
situation.
we two men that could sit in the same room and look at each other and laugh and talk, you know what I mean? But it's when you change that mindset, like he said, people can see that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that's who I was until family members stepped away from me. You know, I saw my father yesterday and he looked at me and said, you're happy. He's like, you were very angry. And I can see you being happy.
Yeah.
And same thing. I walk into a room, I shift the energy of that room. I didn't know I had that power until I met your coach. I met a couple people, but your coach, my coach, Mr. Brian Colhane, he was the person who, when he asked me to tell him my story, and I kind of hesitated, and he looked me square in my eyes, he's like, dude, just tell me your effing story, man.
Yeah.
Just tell me your story.
Exactly.
I don't judge you. Just tell me. And I just straight up told him everything. And I was expecting him to be like, nope, I don't want to talk to this guy no more. I'm out here.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he shook my hand, gave me a hug. He said, I'm going to help you get to where you need to be. You're not just a real estate agent. And I'm still, as you know, I'm still working on,
Yeah.
believing that. But I 100% believe
the people
in what
you-
I'm doing right now. Yeah.
The people
It's
you surround yourself with. Brad, I think you have a unique ability for recognizing negativity right away. I think that's because you've been practicing it for a long time. Before we move on to the next segment, do you find that it's easier for you to recognize now that you're really more in tune to yourself?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. It's a feeling. It's it's really a frequency. I mean, one of the best ways to explain it is to think of like lower frequencies and higher frequencies. It's not that you're above or below somebody. It's just they're vibrating at a different level.
Yeah.
And when they're at 89.9 and you're at 107, like you can't necessarily connect. And you can feel that. I mean, you can literally feel it. It's no different than two magnets coming together the wrong way and they're going to push apart.
Yeah.
It's just energy. And
it's so true.
If you open up to it, you can actually feel it. I mean, you can feel it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is my fun one. I will bleep it out so you can play it on your social media. What is your favorite curse word?
Actually, I don't have
Yeah,
one.
this is awesome. This is the second person that doesn't have one. So yours was doggone it,
Doggone
Dom.
it, yeah.
And it was,
I mean, I'd probably say the F word if I say anything, but it's
do you find yourself not saying it much anymore because you're in alignment?
I don't say it much. Sometimes when I'm cutting loose and having some beers and riding the side by side or something, maybe I do, but it's like, it's just, I still have the other side of me. It's not like,
Right.
I still get wild.
And this is another question I've been dying to ask you. What noise or sound do you love?
So I listen to solfegal, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, frequencies a lot. And
interesting.
every frequency matches to your chakras. So like 528's the heart, and it goes all the way down to the root chakra and all the way
I
up to
need
the
to
crown.
learn this.
So you can literally like turn on a frequency, and then if you really want to get good at it, you can actually take a microphone. I do a lot of karaoke, and you can match the frequency, and you can get your chakras spinning really crazy and get your energy lined up.
Oh my God.
So
like, can we do a whole nother episode with
It's awesome.
Well, with
Right.
karaoke. You karaoke, you sing?
I do.
Renaissance man.
This man, the
my
most
God.
interesting man in the world right here.
Can we get a Barry White in here?
it's not that good.
Well, I can't sing either, but I can. My son can rap a little bit. Does that count?
Yeah, I'm working on the what's that? All the Stars, or no, A Star Is Born. I love that soundtrack.
Yeah.
There's so much feeling and heart in that movie. It's like, oh my gosh,
That was a tough one for me to watch, but
sure.
I actually really connected with that. Yeah, that's a beautiful
I like that.
movie. We'll do a duet to it. How's that?
There
in
you
the
go.
future? We'll do some
There you
crazy
go.
video. Okay, so what noise or sound do you hate?
I'm not really a religious person, but I don't like it when people say JC or God when they cuss, because so many people use that all the time. Like it's just like a common thing. Like
I agree.
Like they just like anything that happens, they're like, Jay, or whatever. And I'm like, why you got to throw that? Why you got to throw that out there?
Because you wouldn't say it with Buddha
Yeah.
or geisha or
Yeah,
it's
it's like it's just bad
Ganesh,
energy in my
whatever
opinion.
ones
Like,
that
why are
is,
you?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna say it when something nice happens,
right.
right? It's just,
Thank you, Jesus.
It's like-
Thank you for this lovely group
and
of people.
I just think it's like
I agree.
gives you a bad vibe.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we have to take firefighter, potato farmer, take everything that you've done off the table. You've done a lot. What profession would you do? Like, you could choose anything in the world. It's just there's a dial and you just pick it and you can do that. What would it be?
My entire life, I wanted to be a real estate investor. I've done that. I did want to be a firefighter. I did that. But I honestly think that if I can stand, and this is what I'm working on now, is just being able to stand in my power and get paid for my energy, just to give back to people. And when I say stand in my power, I mean alignment with who I really am, so that I have that like tapped into the full universe's energy. And that's when you can help those people that are at a lower place that, then you can actually afford to give your energy away.
Exactly.
And
John Cheplick. You're a John Cheplick.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, you got to look him up. He is this, I'm going to call him magnificent creature that walks in like a panther and sends all his energy and power to everyone watching him, and he travels the world. And he makes a lot of money doing
I don't know if that's who I'm going to be.
No, not, but you know what I mean.
Another animal if you want.
But
More of a
what I'm
lion.
saying is he is doing something very similar. He came really in tune to who he was, and he found his greatest joy was watching people build and become better people
Sure.
through off of just who he is and how he can empower them.
So I believe, and this is kind of why I created the New World Collective, I believe that if people stand in what they want, now that could be real estate, that could be maybe you're a painter, maybe you're a baker, whatever it is. I believe that people can stand in something they're good at, and it's not like work. I don't even think we should have to work.
Yeah.
I think it should just be free flowing. And to take it even a level further, the whole money thing, the game that we have to play with money, I mean, just well be good at it because we have to play it. But it's
Right.
it's one of the most manipulative things that ever happened to mankind. And I truly believe that, and that's why I created the New World Collective, is people can just go in there and share. And, you know, if somebody comes in and shares something about, say, neurolinguistic programming, well, they're going to get some coaching students
Yeah.
and they're going to help a bunch of people. And then it just kind of creates a collective where everybody can rise together.
Yeah.
So.
Gosh, that sounds like EXP. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're full of diversity. We're
doing
all
really
together.
well,
as
too.
All
one.
day,
Yeah, I
baby,
love
all
it. That's
day.
awesome. Okay, so celebrity, famous person, dead or alive, if you could have dinner with them, who would it be and why?
I thought about this when you asked Dom, and I'm like, I have no idea. You know, I like the Gandhis and the Nelson Mandelas
Yeah.
and Mother Teresa. And I know that sounds really, you know, cliche, but it's just to totally, like, Gandhi just gave his whole existence for
Yeah.
it. I mean, somebody that can focus on, one of the main things I like is when you can focus on helping people and you're not chasing money, you're just focusing on helping people, and all of a sudden a truck full of money pulls up. You're like, oh, where'd that come from? You know? And so it comes up on the
Yeah.
side. You're like, oh, well, that was for what you did
Yeah.
3 months ago. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the way to live your life. If you can truly put, you know, it's a cliche, add value. Everybody says that, but is anybody really doing that? Or are they really focused on that with their intention?
Right.
And I think that makes a big difference for your happiness as well.
I totally agree. I would love to have dinner with Gandhi. Can you imagine just sitting there, just sitting there? You wouldn't have to say anything.
Well,
and,
he probably wouldn't eat.
well, yes. So it would be sitting there, drinking water, lukewarm from the river, or whatever it is. But yes, just the essence alone, coming from a magnificent human as that right there is food.
Right.
So I love it.
Yep.
So how can people get involved with what you're doing and maybe even contact you and get help themselves?
So we have a group on Facebook called the New World Collective. My website is bradpickett.com, and my email is brad@bradpickett.com. So
And are you still in real estate at all, or are we stepping out of that?
I am, yeah. I own a company called REI Market Pro that sells data and does skip tracing and does marketing platforms, SMS, ringless voicemail, and voice broadcasting. And then I still have about 40 homes that I own, and then I've got
Excellent.
I'm still doing wholesaling as well.
So my young tenacious angels who want to get into the flipping and the wholesale, I should call you.
You know, I did a lot of coaching in real estate, and I loved it, and I still do it. But it was kind of interesting. If you can teach somebody how to make 20 or 30 grand a month in real estate, but they just become a bigger version of who they already are, right?
Yeah.
Like money just magnifies you.
Yeah.
But if you can teach someone how to remove their limiting beliefs, work on their inner dialogue, remove childhood programming, and then they can go make the 30 grand, but they can be a better dad, a better father.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot more rewarding.
Yeah.
And the real estate, I enjoy it and I'll still do it, but it's just like the same questions over and over and over and over. It's just like, okay.
So it's more important to find balance within yourself and alignment and remove the blockages.
For me, when
And
I go, yes. Yeah. For me, when I work towards the New World Collective, it flows. When I work towards real estate, it's just kind of, it's there.
So right now it's just a machine and it's just running.
It's not quite that easy.
Well, yes, we have to fund our dreams.
You do,
And
yeah.
my real estate, even though it's based on giving back, and even though I'm teaching these young people how to build their wealth from it, it's really to fund everything else that I want to do. And that's eradicate the stigma of suicide, do my podcasts, inspire people, help people.
And eventually
Yeah.
this will fund you as well, I'm sure.
Not important, but I'm sure it will. Yes.
So you can focus more.
Yes, exactly. So again, this is Kimberly Toko, Tenacious T.
Brad Pickett, New World Collective.
Dom Fawcett, Think React Lead.
Devon Speaks, Legal Hustle, and Humbleness Group.
Out.